Hi, this is TJR, and just when you thought it was over, it may not be over. Possibly. Michael Skidmore, who runs the estate of Randy Wolf, aka Randy California, has filed an appeal in regards to the Taurus versus Stairway to Heaven, a lawsuit. And so now, what does this mean? First of all, I want to stress, I am not a lawyer, not a legal expert. I've never studied law. There are people who are better qualified in those areas, but based on the research that I've done, this is how I understand it. When you file an appeal, first of all, there has to be an alleged material error in the trial. And so this just can't be, well, we weren't happy with the decision, so doggone it, we're going to appeal this thing. There has to be some material error. Appeals are usually based on arguments that were errors in the trial's procedure or errors in the judge's interpretation of the law. When there is an appeal, it's not judged by a jury, but by a panel of judges. This panel will determine if errors occurred, and it will generally only reverse a trial court only for an error of law. Also, having said that, not every error of law is a cause for reversal. If the judgment is reversed, the case would be sent back to lower court and order the trial court to take further action. Now, it may order that a new trial be held, or that the court's trial judgment be modified or corrected, or that the trial court reconsider the facts, take additional evidence, or consider the case in light of a recent decision by the appeals court. Now, Michael Skidmore feels that Led Zeppelin won this case because of a technicality. And now this is because Judge Klossner, who was the judge on this case, he felt that only the original sheet music for Taurus, which was registered with the U.S. Copyright Office in 1968, would be admissible in court rather than Spirit's audio recording of the song. Now, I know there was a lot of talk, well, why is that? Why not allow the recording? Well, Judge Klossner's decision was consistent with copyright infringement cases involving music recorded before a copyright law revision in 1972, which extended federal protection to sound recordings. Before 1972, only sheet music was covered by federal copyright law. And this, of course, is important, in my opinion, because I feel that if Page was influenced by anything, it would have been the original studio recording and not the sheet music. Now, I do want to take a moment to just address and somewhat amend some comments that I made in my last video on this subject. I think, of course, that the recording is going to be what influences Jimmy Page in this matter, and it's going to be what influences 99.9% of all musicians, and not the sheet music, and I still stick to that. We musicians are influenced by what we hear, not what we read. I also mentioned in that last video that Jimmy Page probably doesn't read music. Now, this, of course, brought on some angry reaction. Of course, there are some people who will react angrily if you say anything negative about their favorite band. I'm a big fan. I bought their catalog 3 times over. If I'm a Led Zeppelin hater, then Led Zeppelin needs more haters like me who buy their catalog multiple times. But I had people saying, well, of course he can read sheet music. He was a studio musician. Not necessarily true. There are lots of studio musicians who don't read music. I've done studio sessions. I read music on piano. I can barely read it on guitar. I mostly just read tablature if I read anything on guitar. But usually I'm not brought into a studio to read something. I'm brought into a studio to add something to an existing recording, to create something is what I'm brought in for. Now, it was brought up to me that in the film it might get loud, which is a film I've seen. Jimmy Page mentioned that while working as a studio musician, he learned how to read music. I've forgotten that part, so I do apologize about that little statement that he probably doesn't read, but that's just because most musicians don't. At least I should say most rock and pop musicians don't, and certainly most guitarists don't. Most guitarists, if they read anything, if they're involved in rock and pop music, they're just reading a chord chart or they're just reading tablature. Now, also my comment was based on the fact that when Jimmy Page was on the stand and he was asked, does he read music? His answer was, to a degree, which told me that maybe he understands a little bit about it, but, probably is not like a great sight reader. So, like I said, I felt that based on what he said in court to a degree, that if he did read it, he probably didn't read very much. At any rate, though, I don't have any doubts about the fact that if anything is going to influence him and any other musician, by and large, it's going to be the audio recording. And that's why I thought if you are going to fight this case, you need to be able to play the audio recordings. And so this was, however, like I said, decided by the judge. Michael Skidmore felt that they were fighting a huge uphill battle not being able to use the original audio recordings. And of course, in my opinion, the attorney he had didn't help. I've heard that since the trial, that attorney has been disbarred. So I think poor choice of attorney also did not help the matter. He handled it so badly and in such baffling ways that I sometimes wondered if he wasn't secretly working for Led Zeppelin. I'm still absolutely baffled by some of the things that he did. So, what does this mean? A lot of people have asked me online, what do you think about the appeal? What does this mean? Right now, not a whole lot. It's just an appeal. It may never go any further. If this goes further, and if it goes back to trial, and if they actually allow the original studio recordings, then this might get interesting. And so what do you think? Should this go back to trial? To anybody out there that's going to say, I hope it doesn't, because if it does and they win, it will set a dangerous precedent, I want to remind you that ship has already sailed. The Marvin Gaye versus Robin Thicke trial has already set that dangerous precedent. And I am hoping that that appeal does go through. I am hoping that that does go to trial. And I'm hoping that that decision is reversed. That trial has set a dangerous precedent, not this one. This is TJR. Thank you so much for watching, and look forward to checking out your comments.